If you didn't know, two-stroke bikes aren't made for trail riding. Well, most two-stroke bikes aren't made for trail riding, my bad. But usually their main focus is for motocross. You know, they're made to be ran wide open for 30 minutes or an hour and jumped a lot. But then you've got people like me that like to trail ride these bikes for some odd reason. If I'm being honest, I just like to trail ride these bikes because they're super light, unlike most trail bikes, and I can just pick them back up if I do stuff like this, which it was still pretty heavy after that spill I took. But because these bikes aren't made to do much trail riding, you can't just buy one and expect the best results treating it like you would a trail bike. Which is why in this video, I'm going to be going over some beginner tips and tricks to riding your two-stroke dirt bike in the woods. And we'll start off by going over one of the things I am most cautious about riding a dirt bike in the woods, period. And that, ladies and gents, would be creeks and any kind of deep water or mud. Because most two-strokes, or pretty much any other kind of race bike, have that giant hole on either side of the number plate, and that means the airbox is not sealed and water can just splash right up in there and hit your motor. And if you didn't know, that's one of the biggest no-nos for any kind of engine at all. Not to mention, riding a dirt bike in the mud or in the water sucks as it is, so that's kind of a hint to stay away from that stuff. So if you can manage to do that, you're already looking pretty good. The next one's going to be trying to halfway maintain a little speed and stay in the throttle because like I said, these are race bikes. And I don't mean thrash it out and throw a rod or something. I just mean let it air itself out, maintain speed and all that. Because that's why they put the holes in the number plate so they can get as much air as they can and stay cool. Plus, if you try to lug around too much like a trail bike, you'll stall it like I did a second ago, or you can possibly foul a plug. It's just not really good for it. Plus, you gotta let people listen to the two-stroke sound. I mean, come on. But the next thing is your clutch. And the clutch can be your best friend or your worst enemy on any machine. But a two-stroke in hills or in technical terrain, it's critical. You've got to know when to clutch it at the right times or else you're going to kill it. And then you're going to have to put it in neutral and start it back up and hope to goodness you can get it started and going again before it slides backwards. And that's only if you're in a spot where you can take back off again. Like if you're on a hill, you're just going to have to go back down and try it again. Watch this. I tried hopping over this route without pulling my clutch in at all, and that happened right there. Luckily, I was at the top so I could put it in neutral and start it back up and go around and try it again. And when you watch it this next time, I actually clutch whenever I hit the top because I'm not moving, and then it just keeps me from killing it, and then I can just keep on going. But in a spot like that, you would have to pull the clutch in on any machine because you're literally not moving when you get to the top. But if you're hill climbing on a two-stroke and you feel yourself starting to lose power towards the top or around the middle, you stay in the throttle and you start pulling that clutch in, never letting out of the throttle, and then it starts spinning those wheels again and brings that power back, and hopefully you should be able to shoot back towards the top. But going back to the whole water thing, if you buy a used two-stroke and it may or may not have had water damage that you didn't know about, then you may start fouling plugs, or if you're lugging around an awful lot, you may start fouling plugs, which is the next thing about trail riding a two-stroke bike, or even racing one actually. You want to make sure you have plugs with you. If you're fouling plugs every other time you ride, there's probably something wrong, but usually you shouldn't foul one hardly ever, or maybe every great once in a while, but it's still good to bring them with you when you ride. Because they're $3 or $4 a piece and take like 2 minutes to change and can save you from having to bring your bike back to the truck after riding for like 30 minutes. It's like a necessity if you're going to ride one for very long. And my KX fouled a plug whenever I started it up to film the clips for this video. I swapped it out and I was good to go. And the very last thing, I've said it 100 times, they're race bikes. They're made to ride on a track for an hour, so they have smaller gas tanks to conserve weight, and because they're not made to be rode for very long at a time. So if you plan on riding for longer than a few hours, I recommend bringing some extra gas with you, because if you look at the petcock right there, there is no reserve on that. Once you're out, you're out. And if you didn't know, you got to mix your own gas. A lot of people have their own personal preferences. Mine is Amsoil Dominator 50-1. I've ran it in every two-stroke I've owned, and it does good. So, anyways, if you're going to get a two-stroke dirt bike to start riding in the woods, more like technical trail riding, hill climbing, and stuff like that, follow these tips. The clutch is your best friend. Try to stay in the throttle. as much as you can, like keep them from fouling a plug anyway. You don't want to lug it around all the time. That ain't very good on it. And speaking of fouling plugs, make sure to bring some extra spark plugs with you, because you don't know what's gonna happen, and it would suck to have your riding day shut down because of a $5 spark plug. And if you plan on riding very long, bring some gas. If you do those things correctly, the only thing you really gotta do after that is follow our man Cowboy Sendit's famous line, and that's all I gotta say. I'll see you next time.
Whether you're on 2 wheels or 4 or maybe even 3. And lastly, keep sending it.